Okay, so this is your first vocabulary unit, and your assignment while we are going through each of the 20 words is first you want to watch the video with your vocabulary packet in hand. For each word, I want you to write one of the associations that I use to explain the word, and I want you to come up with an association that you have created yourself. And you want to be prepared to turn in this sheet on the due date. So you're going to be turning in both the association, one of the associations I use, and the association that you create. So let's get started. Your first word is admonish. Now, admonish means to caution or advise against something, maybe scolding mildly. So you see here we've got a picture of a man scolding his dog, and so he's admonishing the dog for something that he's done. But you also could be cautioning. So, for example, your parents might, when you start driving, they might admonish you to wear your seatbelt or admonish you to not be distracted by the radio, something along that line. All right, number 2 is breach. Now, breach has 2 definitions. It's got a noun and a verb definition. You'll notice the noun definition is a violation, some kind of opening, a rupture, or a rift, and so I've shown you this picture over here of this person tearing up a contract, and a lot of times you hear about a breach of a contract, and what that means is that there's some kind of break in the contract. Somebody didn't follow part of the contract, or there's a problem with the contract that makes it not valid. Secondly, the breaking of the rules, the breach of the rules. So you've breached the rules, and you have broken, that means you've broken a rule. And so that's where that association comes in. Second, we've got brigand. Now, brigand has several definitions. Notice I've got the picture of the bandit there and the picture of the robber. And so a brigand can certainly be someone who is a robber or a bandit or an outlaw of some sort. Here in the center, we've got a picture of what's called a highwayman. And you don't have those anymore. They're from a long time ago, and they were robbers, but their whole deal was that they were on horseback, and as people were traveling, they would rob the travelers as they came by, but they would do it on horseback, and so they wouldn't be on foot like most of your robbers would be. So that's obviously why we don't see much of them anymore. All right, circumspect. Circumspect is an adjective, and first of all, you'll notice that part of the word I have highlighted in yellow, and that's because circumspect includes one of our roots that we will want to focus on this year. Spec means to see or to look, and so circumspect means to be careful or to be cautious, and so when you're being circumspect, you are looking carefully. You are looking around. You are seeing how everything fits together. And so you can see our lady here that is being super cautious with her pillows all over her. But also circumspect is somewhere where you are being careful. You are being cautious as you do something. All right, next we have commandeer. Commandeer is a verb. And you will notice that I've got com highlighted there. Com is a prefix that means together or with. Now, commandeer means to seize for military or official use. So, for example, during a war, a unit may commandeer someone's house if they needed somewhere to stay, if it was in a war zone. And that happened a lot, say, during the Civil War. But also, you'll notice over here I've got Pinky and the Brain. I don't know if you guys would be familiar with them now, but they were a cartoon character a while back. And their whole deal was that the Brain wanted to, he wanted to take over everything. So their whole goal in life, Pinky and the Brain, was to take over the world. And so they would be seizing the world. And then, of course, our favorite villain in Bikini Bottom, Plankton, is right there. He's trying to commandeer either a Krabby Patty recipe, or he's maybe trying to commandeer, the universe that in which he lives. So certainly that is bringing it together, taking it with them, using it for their own needs. Next we have cumbersome. Cumbersome is an adjective. you'll see that it means clumsy, hard to handle, slow moving. So when something is cumbersome, you can see the lady here having trouble holding all the binders, making it difficult for her to walk. We've got the guy here. I love this guy riding on the bike with the bricks. And obviously that's very cumbersome. It's very difficult for him to ride his bike because it's hard to handle all those bricks. And then of course we have Mr. Clumsy over here with the boxes, and so he was having trouble holding those, so then he is dropping all of them. All right, deadlock. Deadlock can be a noun or a verb. As a noun, it's a standstill, resulting because two equal forces are not giving in. And you can see here our standstill is our traffic jam there, where those cars aren't able to go anywhere, nobody's giving in, and so we are at a standstill. Everybody is sitting still, not able to move. To bring to a standstill means that you are doing something that's causing something to not go forward. So, for example, maybe in a tug-of-war game, if both sides are equally strong, the tug-of-war game is never going to end. So you're bringing it to a standstill. No movement is possible. You can't do anything. And so deadlocks we don't like because they keep us from moving forward. All right, next we have debris. Debris is, scattered fragments, wreckage. It's just stuff laying all around, rubble, any just stuff laying everywhere. And so in one case here I've got debris from, looks like, plane crashes or maybe a storm where it looks like, because you've got some cars over there too. And on the right, this looks like definitely from some kind of storm where the debris that's left over from the storm is sitting there all together. All right, diffuse. Diffuse has two definitions, and it actually also has two pronunciations. As the verb, you pronounce it diffuse, and as the adjective, you pronounce it diffuse. So depending on how you're using it, you have a different pronunciation. So as the verb, diffuse, is where you spread or scatter freely or widely. And I have the guy here spreading seeds. So that's one way of using diffuse. You can also think about just something spreading across, like an epidemic could diffuse across an area. Could be another thing. Diffuse as an adjective means that it's wordy, long-winded, unfocused. So their words are not really anything that you can focus on. So we've got our little character here, blah, 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 and the person's not listening. So that is how you use that word. All right, dilemma. Dilemma is a noun. It means a problem, something that you are struggling with. So we've got our little guy here with a big question mark, doesn't know what to do. This little cartoon I just loved because it so relates to my daughter and me. Man, I'm pretty hungry. I'm also lazy. This is a dilemma. And of course, you just sit there and never get up. And then the guy dies because he was too lazy to get up and do anything and get anything to eat. So I got a little charge out of that cartoon there. So dilemma, just a problem that you are trying to solve. Efface. Efface is a verb. It's got two definitions there. To wipe out, like the little girl here is erasing the board. So literally wiping something out. But also it can mean to keep from being noticed. So like somebody that's shy, they might efface themselves so that nobody will notice them. You can also efface memories. So I had the little board there with the literally erasing the word memory, but symbolically meaning that you're effacing memories from your brain. All right, to muddle. Muddle has two definitions. As a verb, to make a mess of, or to get by, meaning that you are just trying to, get by, trying to get through something. As a noun, it means a hopeless mess. So here in the center, keep calm and muddle through. That just means that you are surviving. You are doing your best to survive. And then over here, the guy at the office, obviously he is struggling with something, so he's trying to muddle through his paperwork. And then here, the grocery store, that would be called a muddle, because obviously that aisle is a big fat mess. All right, opinionated is an adjective. means stubborn, having a closed mind, meaning that your opinions, your thoughts, your feelings are the only ones that matter. So you can see here we've got the little guy saying just my opinion, meaning nothing else. And then I love this little sarcastic slogan here, I'm not opinionated, I'm just always right. So when you're opinionated, you think about somebody who their opinions, their feelings are the only thing that matters, and yours doesn't even count. All right, moving on. Perennial. Perennial is an adjective or a noun. As an adjective, it means lasting for a long time. So our little Energizer bunny over here, he keeps going and going and going. We might say that he's perennial. Also on the left is our noun definition. A perennial is a plant that lasts for many years. And so this plant, it may take a break during the winter, but it always comes back. And so I put some picture there of some pretty perennial flowers that are always around. Next we have predispose. Notice in yellow we have the pre. Pre is a prefix that means before. And so predispose means that to incline beforehand. Now that's your definition in your book. What predispose means is that you are, for whatever reason, just leaning towards a certain behavior, a certain outcome, and in a lot of ways it's hard for you to prevent that outcome. So for example, over here we have this guy, it looks like he's predisposed to be laying on the couch and being a couch potato and being fat and whatever, but he says he's free to be me. So we don't know if he's chosen that or if he's predisposed to that. Over here on the right, a man may be predisposed to baldness because there's baldness in his family. So that means that no matter what he does, it's possible that he could lose his hair because all the other men in the family have lost their hair. All right, relinquish. Notice the prefix re. Re means again or back. And so relinquish means to let go, to give up. So you're giving something back that maybe you had, and you're letting go of it. You're giving it away. So I love this little kitten who says, I give up, to let go. So the kitten is letting go, giving up. I don't know how well you can see this picture here, but it says, after a fierce struggle, Robin agreed to relinquish possession of the remote control. And I'm sure that maybe you have people in your family who love to have control of the remote control, and in this little cartoon, Robin is finally giving up the remote control, which I'm sure is a big deal based on what that picture is. And then we have the cute little guy there who is letting go of the balloon. He's relinquishing the balloon, letting it go from his possession. All right, salvage. Two definitions of salvage. We have verb and noun. As a verb, it means to save from fire or shipwreck. And we're not talking about saving people. Salvage means that you are saving things. So over here on the left, I've gotten some, things that somebody might have salvaged. You can see that they look old, they're a little damaged, and so they have saved those things from the fire or the shipwreck. As the noun, it is the property. So the salvage is what you got maybe from the fire. So I salvaged these things. These things are my salvage from the fire. So it just depends on how you use it. It pretty much means the same thing. All right, spasmodic. Spasmodic is an adjective, and it means sudden and violent, but brief. Okay, so something that is spasmodic comes on really fast, really harshly, but it doesn't stay around very long. So if you look at this lightning storm, a lightning storm like this is going to be very dangerous, probably very harsh when it hits, but it ain't going to stay around very long. Just like this little rainstorm over here, comes on very strong. Usually a rainstorm like that is not going to stay around that long. Now the little girl in the middle, sometimes if you have little brothers or sisters or cousins, you know that sometimes their temper tantrums seem like they go on forever, but really they're sudden and violent, but really they are pretty brief because eventually they get tired and fall asleep. So spasmodic, sudden, violent, brief, not lasting a long time. All right, spurious. Spurious is an adjective, means not genuine or valid. So over here on the left, we've got our little fake designer bags, Louis Vuitton, or I don't even know what some of these are. But we've got some fake designer bags, and they've got fake written all over them because they're not real. We've got our counterfeit bill here in the center, because spurious can mean counterfeit. And then spurious can also mean fraudulent. So we've got our two little guys here, trying to give you a MasterCard or Visa that clearly, these guys are not going to tell you the truth. They're going to give you something that's fake. So spurious, not genuine, not valid. All right, and your last word, unbridled. Unbridled means lacking in restraint or uncontrolled, unrestrained. Over here on the left are Virginia's famous Chincoteague ponies. They are my favorite animal in the whole world. I love my Chincoteague ponies. And you'll see that they are not restrained by any kind of pen or any kind of pasture area. They are free to roam all over the island of Chincoteague, and so they would be considered unbridled because they don't have anything holding them back. Also notice that I highlighted the un. Un means not. It's a prefix that means not, so not bridled. So there's no restraint there. Over here on the right, we have this little picture with all these fans waving their hands up in the air, and you'll see the little title there, Unbridled Enthusiasm. Unbridled enthusiasm would be just enthusiasm that is not controlled in any way, that it's just out there, and these people are just celebrating. Sometimes sports fans can be unbridled, and they can have that unbridled enthusiasm. Okay, so that is your vocab unit 1.